Hello and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 4090's performance in Warzone. I tested in 3 different spots in Caldera, 1 spot in Rebirth, and 1 spot in Fortune's Keep. It's by no means a comprehensive test, but it's not bad. Like, there's not a lot of other good benchmarks out there for Warzone specifically, so I wanted to go in there and test it myself. I was able to camp out overnight at Micro Center, and I got 2 4090s because I was there with my friend, and I've been able to test it with both a 5950X and a 12900K. Obviously, these are just my rigs. I don't have every CPU. I don't have every RAM kit. I will go over the specs of my PCs, but a little background on me. So if you don't know who I am, I built TrueGameData.com. It's a website for Call of Duty, Warzone mostly, that does all of the advanced statistics for the weapons. Those are all hand tested by me at high FPS to get accurate numbers. So that's kind of my background. I have a ton of experience with Warzone, data testing, analytics, things like that. So I just want to give a little qualification before I talk about the actual benchmarks. But let's go over the systems that I used to run these tests, and then we'll get directly into the benchmark results. So if you're new here or you're from TrueGameData, the TrueGameData YouTube or Twitter or website or anything, don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in tech-related videos. I'm hoping to upload a lot more. I'm super passionate about technology. I have so many weird things. I have like AR glasses, and I have this health tracking ring, and I just have all kinds of weird things, and I'd love to cover them and do reviews. So I'm hoping to do more of that on this channel. So just don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of that content. All right, so this is a picture of rig number 1. These 4090s are so absolutely gigantic that they do not fit in either one of my cases with a front mounted radiator, and unfortunately neither one of my PCs can top mount these Arctic radiators because they're so thick. So I had to do some jury rigging to get that to work, but this system is a 12900K with 2 sticks of 8 gigabytes, 4000 CL15 RAM, so it's very fast RAM, but it's still only 16 gigabytes. That's gonna be the main difference between the two systems, is the RAM. They're a little bit different kits. But yeah, 4090, it is an ASUS TUF OC. I didn't overclock any of this. I just wanted to run stock 5950X 12900K with the stock 4090 in both cases, and then they'll have a little bit different RAM kits. But let's go look at the second PC. All right, so this is the other PC. This is the 5950X. I have 2 sticks of 16 3600 CL14 RAM in this one. So this one does have 32 gigabytes of RAM with the 5950X. Exact same cooler. It's just the 280 millimeter version instead of the 360, and the exact same GPU. I mean, they're the same card. It's 2 separate cards, but they are the same exact card. So performance should be basically the same. Again, the cooler didn't fit, so I had to literally move it in front of the case and bolt it on up there. It's just temporary. I'm gonna get new cases for these things, but yeah, those are the 2 systems. The big difference is really just the RAM. We got 5950X with 2 sticks of 16, 3600 CL14, and then the 12900K has 2 sticks of 8, 4000 CL15. So both very fast RAM kits, but one is 16 gigabytes and one is 32 gigabytes. All right, real quickly, I thought I should just scroll through my graphics settings so you guys can see how this was set up when I was running these tests. Again, exactly the same between the 2 machines. So I did full screen, obviously 240 hertz, no VSync, no frame rate limit. And then for quality, I'm just going to scroll through this. Probably won't talk about it very much. No DLSS. These are just my normal settings. So if you've ever wondered what I play on, this is what they all are. Okay, let's get into the actual benchmark numbers. So let's go through the setup here. So we got 4090 benchmark for Warzone, Caldera. This was on Airfield. So I said I tested in 3 different locations. I tested Airfield, Peak, and Capital. So I'll pop up a little map so you guys can see that right now. This was the Airfield test. So there's 3 different things I tested here: 5950X, Windows 10, 5950X, Windows 11, 12900K, Windows 11. And these are all with the exact same 4090. The reason I have both Windows 10 and Windows 11 is because I initially only did the 5950X Windows 10 versus a 12900K Windows 11 because I forgot that I had different OSs on the 2 different systems. So I was like, well, that's not a fair comparison. So I just upgraded to Windows 11 on my Windows 10 PC. And we actually found some interesting results with that. So first off, you can see right away the 5950X in maximum FPS and average FPS actually beat the 12900K with the 4090, which was surprising to me. But then if you go over and look at the 1% low and 0.1% low, which is really, really important, you're going to see that the 12900K actually wins by a pretty good amount. So 131 1% low for the 12900K, and then 120 for the 5950X, both on Windows 11. And then interesting, you can see that Windows 11 does hurt the performance on max and average FPS by a decent amount. So 188 average FPS on Windows 11, and then 200.6 on Windows 10. So that's like a 12 FPS hit there, just upgrading to Windows 11 for your average. But then the 1% low and 0.1% low, which I would personally probably say is more important than your average and max, just because that's like the smoothness of the game. Like, so if you have really, really good 1% lows and 0.1% lows, there's no stuttering at all. It's just going to feel absolutely buttery smooth, especially if you have a G-Sync monitor, which I think most people have G-Sync or G-Sync compatible monitors at this point. So yeah, those 1% lows are going to be hugely important. But you'll see that it actually beat Windows 11, actually beat Windows 10 in 0.1% low. And there's going to be more to that as we go through the rest of these benchmarks. But yeah, overall, Airfield on Caldera, kind of trade blows. The 5950X is going to win in your average FPS, but the 12900K is going to do a little bit better on the 1% lows and 0.1% lows. All right, next up we have Capital on Caldera. So this is going to kind of be a more extreme example of the last graph that we saw. So same story here, where the 5950X 4090 actually beats the 12900K in terms of max and average FPS by a little bit, not by a ton, about 10 FPS in both, 10 or 15. And then the 1% lows are actually dramatically better on the 12900K than they are at the 5950X. But interestingly, for some reason, the 5950X is having much better 1% lows and 0.1% lows on Windows 11. You can see that in the middle bar here on both of these. It's going to feel much more smooth on Windows 11 because these 1% lows and 0.1% lows are a lot higher. So overall, I'm really surprised that the 5950X is beating the 12900K. I made sure resizable bars on. I made sure, of course, XMP and everything's on for all the RAM. So surprising there, but it could just be my weird system. Like I said, there's some weird stuff going on with that, or this could just be how it is. I don't know, but I'm going to retest when I get the 13900K. And I might get, like, depending on how much you guys like this, how well this video does, I might buy a 5800 X3D. I might buy a 7950X and build those systems just so I can get complete results for like the fastest end systems for all the people that are interested in that. But yeah, same trend here. 12900K does a lot better in the 1% lows, 0.1% lows, but 5950X does better in the average and max FPS. Okay, so last up we have the peak results from Caldera. So this was another location I tested in Caldera. Slightly different results here. So as far as max FPS goes, the 5950X Windows 10 was the best. 5950X Windows 11 was third, slightly behind the 12900K with Windows 11. And then same with the average. But then we saw the same trends with 1% lows and 0.1% lows that we've seen on the other two locations. 12900K just destroyed the other two. It destroyed both 5950X in Windows 10 and Windows 11 by 40 FPS for Windows 10 and 20 FPS for Windows 11. And you'll see this one really low 0.1% low on Windows 11, and that could just be because it was a short test and something weird happened, like some asset loaded in or something that caused a slight hitch. I think that this is probably just a bad data point because of the consistency we see across all the other tests. Every now and then that just happens, especially because these weren't like super long benchmarks. Basically, I would start the benchmark and I would walk straight forward on the exact same path for all the tests for probably 40 meters on average. So it was probably like a 15-second test. So if you have something weird happen on your system in that time, the test could be not perfect. All right, on to Fortune's Keep. We're going to see similar things here again. It's pretty consistent across the different game modes and different spots on the map, but some slight variations, so I thought it'd be worth talking about. So 5950X Windows 10 handily won the max and average FPS by quite a bit, almost like 20 FPS, 30 FPS higher than the 12900K in terms of max, and quite a bit higher than the 5950X Windows 11 as well. Same story in average, but by smaller margins. And then we see the same trend in 1% low and 0.1% low, where the Intel 12900K with Windows 11 has by far the best 1% lows, followed by 5950X Windows 11, and then followed by the 5950X Windows 10. So this is a pretty dramatic difference in 1% lows here. And you'll see in the 0.1% low, again, we have one of those situations where I think something just happened on my PC when I was doing this short test on Fortune's Keep. So I think looking at the 1% low is probably better for this benchmark specifically, because I think this Intel data point was just bad because I think something happened, an asset loaded in or something that caused a little hitch in the short period of time that I did the test. But obviously that's still important information to know. Like if a hitch happens, then it still happened. So it's worth including this graph. I didn't want to just like ignore that this happened and run another test until it looked like I expected it to look. That's not the way to do testing. Like, you have to just present the results as you got them. But yeah, I think overall the trends are the same as we've seen elsewhere. All right, last up we have Rebirth Island. So Rebirth Island, this is 1440p again. Same trends here. The big thing here that you'll notice is the 1% lows and 0.1% lows. Windows 11 on the 5950X did so much better than Windows 10. So this is a consistent theme, but in certain cases the tests are showing dramatically better. So this is like 30 FPS better, 1% low, and like 25 FPS better, 0.1% low. So it's going to feel way smoother. Even though your average FPS is down a little bit on Windows 11 with the 5950X, your 1% lows and 0.1% lows are going to make the game feel smoother. It's going to feel more consistent and more smooth. So I think that's really important to know, and I think that people shouldn't be afraid, if they're Warzone players, to upgrade to Windows 11, even though you're going to get a slight hit in your average FPS. Okay, so the trends were pretty consistent across all the different locations I tested and game modes I tested. So because of that, I thought it was okay to do an average of all of them. So this is all those different locations and maps combined into an average FPS, and you can see the trends really stick out here. So I changed the scaling of this graph a little bit, so it starts at 90 instead of starting at 0, just so we could see the changes a little bit more easy. So we can see you get about 10 more FPS max with Windows 10 on 5950X. You get about 10 more FPS going from 1200K to 5950X in terms of max, and then average, same story here, just a little bit less. So it's like 7 FPS going from 1200K to 5950X, both on Windows 11, and then a bigger jump of about 15 FPS from Windows 11 to Windows 10 on 5950X. So Windows 10, as we saw throughout all these tests, it performs better in terms of average and max FPS. But then it's super important that your 1% lows and 0.1% lows are as high as you can get them. So we see the reverse trend here, where the 5950X Windows 10, 112 FPS, 1% low, and then the 5950X Windows 11, 126. So that's a dramatic increase in 1% low performance. That's like 10%, almost 15% increase in 1% lows, and then you get another jump of 10 or 15% above the 5950X Windows 11 up to the 12900K with Windows 11. So 12900K does exceptionally well in 1% lows, 0.1% lows. It's going to have absolutely buttery smooth gameplay, but it's going to have a little bit lower average FPS. But if you have a G-Sync monitor and you're hitting numbers like this anyway, 190 FPS, that is going to feel incredible. You're going to have extremely consistent, smooth gameplay just across all the maps, and that's the advantage of the 12900K over the 5950X as far as these tests are concerned. I would also say you're gonna have to decide for yourself if you want to upgrade to Windows 11. If you have something like a 5950X, these 1% lows, 0.1% lows are very enticing, I would say, but it is kind of hard to give up that 15 to 20 FPS max and average going from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So that's gonna be a personal decision for you. You can weight which one you think is more important. I personally think that the 1% low and 0.1% low are more important, because as soon as I get over about like 130 FPS, games feel pretty much completely smooth to me. Obviously I still see a little bit more smooth the higher and higher I get, but after like 160, 170, I really can't tell a difference. So if I can get over that threshold with really good 1% lows and really good 0.1% lows, which is exactly what 5950X Windows 11 and 12900K Windows 11 did, that's going to be what I personally am going to go for, especially if I have a G-Sync monitor. So just my opinions, but I wanted to present this. I didn't edit any of this data. This is just exactly as I took it. This was one test per location, so it's not like comprehensive testing or anything, but if people are really interested in this stuff, I can go in more depth. It just takes a lot of time because I did all of this in live matches, so that can be really difficult because there's people shooting you and stuff like that. So if we want to see more of that, I'm down to try. I'm down to get 5800X 3D, 13900K, and 7950X, and repeat these tests and see how they come out. So final conclusion, the 4090 is kind of a ridiculously powerful card. Unfortunately, we don't really get to use that power in Warzone very much. I'm sure plenty of people in the comments are going to be like, my performance is as good as this that you showed or better with older systems and older graphics cards, and that's because it's very CPU limited. Just because there's so many players and such a huge map for Warzone that a lot of that ends up getting put on the CPU. So really, to utilize the 4090, I mean, my GPU usages, my CPU usages throughout these tests, they're like 50%, 60%. So the GPU is not being used nearly to what it could be, and that's because it's bottlenecked by RAM and CPU. So we're really going to need the 13900K and 7950X and 5800X3D to really test this and see what it can do with super fast DDR5, DDR4 RAM. You'll be able to get a lot more FPS once we actually have the CPU power to not bottleneck these GPUs. But there's still so much good about the 4090. Like for me, it's like the perfect card because I do video rendering. Obviously, I'm recording this video and talking to you guys about stuff, so obviously I had to do video editing, video rendering. It's super amazing for that. It's got built-in hardware encoders for AV1 and NVENC. AV1's the future of streaming and coding, and I'm really excited for that because it's going to make low bitrate streams look amazing. We just need the hardware to push it, and now finally Intel with their new GPUs and NVIDIA with this series of GPUs are really starting to push that. So for me, it's an amazing card for all the things I do. I need high FPS for testing as well, obviously, so that's why I picked them up, because they work for me for, you know, gaming and just in general having a lot of FPS when I play different games, and all of my work stuff that I do for TGD. It's huge for me. But overall, if you have a 5950X 1200K, you're really not going to see much gains going from an older GPU. Probably if you had like a 3080 or a 3090, you can probably get pretty close to this. I had a 6900 XT before this, and honestly, my max frame rate and average frame rate were probably higher with that than the 4090, which is really weird to say. But for some reason, that card excelled in Warzone. But the 1% lows and 0.1% lows on my 6900 XT were atrocious because it had that stuttering problem ever since like season 3 of Caldera. Before that, it was ridiculous how good that card was for Warzone. But after about season 3, there's this stutter that AMD's acknowledged but never fixed after all these months. So that's super annoying. I'll completely be using the 4090 from now on, obviously, because those 1% lows, 0.1% lows are just awesome. I'll be playing on the 12900K until I get the 13900K. And then we'll see what this thing can really do. All right, that's really all I wanted to cover. Just wanted to go over these benchmarks and talk about them as I was going through them. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the content and you want to see more tech-related content. I'm hoping to push this YouTube channel more and do a lot more stuff on here. I know I say that all the time, but I really mean it this time. I really want to make more videos here, so hopefully I'll have time in the next couple months to really start posting more often. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.